Hello everyone, I am Amit Danait, the Chief Editor and Founder of A&i Digest. Today we are here at Architect Aijaz Hakim's latest villa project, where 20 eminent architects and interior designers have come down.
Composite for me over here meant two or three different things. One is, I had this fascination for this cantilever, and traditionally we would have put two columns here, which so we've been pushing the limit as much as we can, wherever we can, and therefore I said, listen, I want to do the structural engineering, I want just one column, and I want it eccentric. I don't want it in the center over here, so that the bending moment is not equal, and it's completely a 1/3, 2/3 situation over here. So it started with this column. So what we've done is, right from the foundation, these are seamless scale capsules, okay, through which the reinforcement has gone all the way up, right? And then we vibrated them, poured the concrete, and then vibrated them with some special vibrator. And the columns are seamless. So first two coats were finished outside, and my secret weapon, Sumit, is right there. He's done a lot of secret stuff. So the first two coats were done, and that's why the final coat you see with PU, which is flawless. Second thing is, this is the central beam of the.
Just on that column, how have you separated this other structural steel beams?
No, RCC. RCC. So it's the metal is actually only a shield,
Okay.
which you can enhance the grade of the concrete, and it allows me that flawless finish.
Okay.
And it kind of contains the concrete in a certain way, because then with an ultrasonic or some kind of vibrator you get the uniform the settling of it. Also, the biggest challenge was, you see, when you have the RCC, the reinforcement, it kind of looks like this, right, before you cast it. So it's all over. And each of these pipes had to be put by a crane. So the crane has to go, it's a big dance of hell before you put the complete sheathing. And at the same time, when it becomes 90 degrees, kabhi idhar out ho sakta hai, idhar out ho sakta hai. So it's difficult to do that. So I started thinking, how about we start redefining simplicity? And simplicity at various levels, at a mental level, at material level, at design level. So just let's draw less lines, let's not go overboard. Anyways, we are on this mission of trying to be simpler than simple. So we do very few lines, but very crisp lines, and that's how you see that the soffits have come out at a certain level. The windows are all predetermined. Even the tile joints are kind of, they lead up to a certain way. I've used one material homogeneous throughout, with certain variations to it. We had a choice of going blingy, going gold aluminum. We chose a natural anodized matte aluminum in its true sense.
So Suhani had a question, and even Sarang, about the facade. So Suhani, can you ask your question?
So initially when we were standing outside, we were wondering, is it a mesh or are you going to uncover it? Is it visible? As we moved up, we saw the details and realized that you used this some kind of an expanded metal mesh. So, would you like to explain a little about why you went around?
So that's again the there are multiple layers to an onion, right? You keep peeling one layer and the second one makes you cry, and then you peel one more layer and the next one makes you cry. That's one of the layers of simplicity. So one is the tonal characteristic of everything that we use, just flat. I can't go flatter than this. So we went as flat as we could. With aluminum also, we went as flat as we could. This aluminum is something that has been fascinating me, this aluco, because every time I go to Europe, I see an Audi or Porsche showroom, they use this kind of aluco, and it just kind of glistens. So one is the tonal characteristic, we kept it absolutely down. Second was the issue of transparency. And when we do transparency, obviously you're letting a lot of sunlight in, and with sunlight comes heat. So you got to be a lot more careful of how the apertures are and how that. So I don't know how many of you guys. In fact, I would encourage you guys to get the lighting software at the design stage involved in it, which, like a camera lens, you can control your apertures. So this is east, that's north. So my south is completely blank. My west is the heat gain, which is completely blank, and it's a 3-layer. So the aluco is a dead first phase. Then we have the air gap. Then we have the plaster and the brick, and then we have the inside finishing. So the heat has to travel through 3 layers. It's kind of like wearing a sweater on a winter day. So that's from the heat part. And to answer your question, I was after a zero elevation. I always feel that architects always put their ego on the cover. And since I'm on this mission now to have simplicity, then the ego goes in the back pocket. And how do you have a zero elevation? You need windows, you need walls, etc., etc. And if you have a wall, then you want to treat it. And you have a window, you have to dress it. So this is a company called GKD. I discovered this about 10-12 years ago. So obviously, you also discover some material when you want to use it. यार एक दिन तो अपना number लगेगा. I'll use this. So finally, I got this opportunity. It was at the back of my mind, and I contacted GKD. But GKD is now present as GKD India, and they are based out of Jaipur. So we use the GKD as a mesh, which becomes a security mesh on one side, because on this side it's all electronic. You can't move a muscle without being detected. So that becomes a security. With such large windows, eventually client आके बोलेगा आप ये इसमें बाहर डालो, and elevation ससुराल गए. So that entire GKD mesh is a security. It's 304 stainless steel. Almost surgical steel grade. Each panel is 4.2 tons. So it takes a crane to. It's like it's actually a steel ka chadar that I have put, and then it's been stretched. The GKD guys couldn't stretch it as well as then one day Sumit said, "So ये तो बकवास दिख रहा है, इसको यहाँ निकालो या इसको you let me lose on it." And I always let Sumit lose on things. So I don't know how he did it, honestly. Somehow he did it, and they're all in one line. The expansion gaps are 50 mm because it's metal, so it'll expand and contract. So you have a uniform 50 mm gap in between. They move in the wind a little bit, but they're held with brackets. All structurally calculated. I work with Kishore Jain. I find him very easy to work with. Structural consultant. I get scared of these big names. They'll sit on my head and they'll teach me a few things, and I'll forget what I know. So I can't work with the.
So that load of that mesh was already calculated.
Yes. And also not only the load, the wind load has to be calculated because it's a chadar, right? It keeps moving, and also when you pull it, the angles will bend. So the angle, uska web thickness, and then the angle is 12 feet long. In between there are stiffeners, if you see, and between those 1.2 meter stiffeners is what Sumit has put the LEDs which light up. This mesh is also what they call an architectural mesh. So you can light it up from the front, from the back. Yeah, so talking of transparency, of the honesty of materials, and being simple, the GKD is part of that solution. The windows are part of that solution. Also, you see, I don't know how to explain it, but not always, but over the last few years, I've been obsessed with the quality of light. People talk about it, but I don't know how many understand really the quality of light. And every time I go to Europe or some other place, it's now become in my head that I started noticing, yaar, ye European sunlight acha hai. I had a business in California. I lived in California for a long time, and they would always say California sunshine, but kabhi samjha nahi, But now I started understanding what the California sunshine is, and what the European sunshine is, what our Indian sunshine is. And I had to penetrate Indian sunshine into the house to get me a European feel. And I did that in some subliminal way, but I didn't know whether I was 100% on the job. And Lorenzo, who's there, is my photographer. He comes from Barcelona every time.
Lorenzo, can we have you here for a minute, please? Come. These are all designers, architects, and interior designers from Pune.
Nice to meet you.
So Lorenzo is from Barcelona,
And he's an Italian living in Barcelona for 21 years.
Okay. Exactly.
So when we were photographing, one of the first things we said is that, I don't care about what you've done over here, but the Doman sunlight lecture which you gave me is that, can you tell them about the European sunlight?
Yeah, usually in Europe we work a lot with the natural light. So we try to get the best moment for each room. And we usually work with all open windows, all wide open. And we try to get the best day to shoot. So maybe a shooting can take 1 week because maybe the light is not perfect. So we prefer to wait until the sun comes down to perfectly. So I tried, of course, the light is different. In Europe we have different light than here, but I try to work the same way. And I'm quite happy for the moment. So I hope we will come out a nice sort of photo super.
So that's again that light meter software which is at work. So the windows are all, one of the things is the airport is right here. So 85, 100 dB, the house shakes and you can't hear anything. Kalpak, there's like, so windows you have to insulate. That's
East side windows, which you have, the east side glazing, whatever you have you thought about what is the treatment on the glass that you have used?
That's what I'm trying to. So each of the windows. Now, when the airplane flies from here, the sound actually encapsulates. It's like a 3D surround. ऐसा नहीं है कि इधर से ज़्यादा आएगा या इधर से कम आने वाला है. Right? So every window for me became the same. And all of them are DGUs. The back is 12 mm. Then you have the 24 mm gap. And then you have a 12 mm with a 1.2 PVD laminated and a 6 mm in the front. So really, it tore out a new one for me. And the windows are heavy. So I'm happy with so far. The rollers are taking the weight. So these columns, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them, 3 of them are structural, 2 of them are aesthetic. So on the x-axis they are all structural. On the y-axis, those 2 are. So you see, these ones will be, and this one will be So those y-axis are non-structural. The others are structural.
The fun part is your structure is always off the grid, like here, and the interiors are all clean and symmetrical.
Yeah, so this and this will be off, but otherwise everything is. Otherwise, RCC, I look at.
So Vinod was observing that there's hardly any paint used. There's no paint used
There's
anywhere.
only about 3 to 5% paint used. See, as the projects become bigger, as the reputation becomes bigger, you become a victim of your own success. Kalpak. I mean, I joke with people that today, if Aijaz Hakim was to appoint Aijaz Hakim as his architect, I can't afford myself. Yeah, मेरे पास पैसा ही नहीं होता, बजट ही नहीं है.
So how much time must have gone into this from concept to completion?
4 years. 4 years. It took us 1 year to draw because I draw like a madman. I draw means my office, they all go crazy with me. 1 year for RCC and excavation and waterproofing and wet work, and about 2.5 years, not counting 10 months of COVID, where we couldn't do.
So any particular aspect which you would have liked to do but didn't happen for whatever reasons? Anything, everything you wanted?
This house they gave me, that तेरा घर पर के जैसा बना, and normally I do that. It's just that between 0 to 100, sometimes the housewife starts interfering. And that's when the trouble starts. But in this case, there's no trouble. I couldn't ask. And this, I think this is one of my best client. I've had a few good clients.
Tushar, you had a question?
After, not in this context, but 4 years is a long time, and so the thought process also changes. Even one as a person grows in this long span. So now, if you have to start again from scratch, what would you want to do in this house?
I won't do it only. मैं मर गया इधर. मैं मर गया. Sorry, honestly. You know, so we have two companies now. One is Aijaz Hakim Architect and one is Generic Works. With Generic Works, we do contracts only for our projects. We don't go out, market it. Anyway, if you see my website also, it's on black page. You know. So Generic Works took 2/3 of my life in making this. And at the end of it, when I look at it, I would have made more money in AHA with fees than I have made with through generic work. So from that point of view, I don't want to do one. Another one again over here. But from a satisfaction point of view, all the beatings are worth it. I couldn't be more satisfied with all the stunts that I've tried. Have come out. I'm a pain in the ass to work with. I mean, my guys know it. Francesca especially, I don't know where she is. She knows it. She's been with me for 5+ years. I'm sure every day she says, "यार कल से नहीं आने वाली हूँ." And Sumit, we've had so many fights. But they all understand कि यार end में माल अच्छा मिलेगा. So that's a good part. Also in my office, I don't like to keep the same guys. I mean, a lot of people have told me, especially Ashwin Lohekar. He keeps joking with me. नया staff कौन है? You know, and he's retained all his people, and I have a hard time retaining people. In fact, Shine Madam is not here, but Shine is older than me, and one of her jobs, which she's kind of understood, is to keep the child in me under control. Because like a kid, I throw a tantrum anytime, and then Sumit also controls my tantrums from time to time, and Shine is controlling. But I think that's what, because I'm so volatile, the nature of my design, it turns out to be what it is. She knows. One line here or there is like the end of the earth for me. interference in design and no restriction of budget. We feel
There is not a question of no restriction of budget. There was a budget set right from day one. I said ये budget नहीं होने वाला है. Okay. So you have a gut feeling. क्या method से, क्या science से मैंने वो बोला, उसको don't ask me that question. But I had that feeling. ये नहीं होने वाला है. There were 2-3 riding statements which led up to my saying this sentence. First is that the clients, they're very simple guys, but they are techies and they are pretty big. They are a public limited company. So the owner one day, he said, Aijaz, you have a passport? I said, yeah. Okay, send a passport. So I sent a passport and he got me a Japanese visa. They have an office in Japan. I said, Mr. Katkar, no. We are going to Japan, my wife and I want you to come to Japan to understand Japanese detailing. So, okay, what's free is compulsory. So, I got onto the flight, and one thing led to another. This was in 2016, so I gave a lecture at the University of Kanazawa, and I became a jury over there, etc., etc. But it was an opportunity. This came out of the blue, and I went to Japan. And first time Japan, too much to absorb. मेरा आधा अंदर उतरा, आधा फेंक दिया. But I realized यार ये अपने को Japanese नहीं समझने वाला है. अपना Europe is good. I understand Italians like I understand Indians. And Japan ka, when you see the pricing, it's much more expensive than Europe. So I told Mr. Katkar, Japanese karega to it's not going to really happen. So while we were eating dinner one day, he said, Aijaz, I want you to do me a world-class house. I know you do very good houses and I know you do good work, but ये घर मेरा तू world-class बना दे. So it got stuck in my head. The other thing is that I don't work on dimensions. Even for my fees, I don't work on percentage or square foot, nothing. I don't have any system to the madness. So because of this attitude, I don't draw with dimensions. I draw and I see in my head, I see only proportions. And also one of the things over the years, I've kind of learned to separate things out right down to the basic. So like sunlight has two components, heat and light. So throw the heat and get the light. How much light to get? Again, the camera lens. Same way, I have figured out the difference between scale and proportion. For years I was struggling कि ये scale क्या होता है और ये proportion क्या होता है. And then I made my own inference. That scale basically जो teacher ने सिखाया था, he's referring shortcut like SPDP to, because he doesn't want to call it human scale. So all of the work that we do for humans, right? But suppose tomorrow you come and tell me design a house for my dog, I'll have to reinvent dog scale because human scale won't work for dog scale. And then I start thinking कि suppose कल मेरे को उठ के बोलता है ant scale, तो ant scale तो फिर कैसे करूँगा? ऐसा ही अंधा हूँ, you know. So I realize the scale is referring to humans, and proportion basically it's instrument of playing one against the other. So X versus Y, or this versus this, or this versus this. So I figured this in my head, and whenever I start doing something, I keep the human scale in my head, but essentially the proportions come into play. Once the proportion, other thing is मेरे को AutoCAD आता नहीं है, मेरे को सीखना भी नहीं है. It asks me too many questions. AutoCAD, do you want to draw? Do you really want to draw? Why do you want to draw? Where do you want to draw? मैं इतना तो सवाल पूछेगा जब तक तो मेरा my brain works so fast that mouse is too slow for me. So I just draw with the pencil because the pencil is the quickest thing that keeps up with my brain. By the time I draw this, my brain already moved 3 steps ahead. I can't keep up. AutoCAD can't keep up with me. So all these guys, they work on. They are all pianists, right? So when I draw with the pencil, I work. I have no option but to work with proportion, and then the proportion gets translated into scale drawing. 8 times out of 10, I'm correct. And the other 20, and Surbi takes over. So, a lot of people ask me कि ये कितना स्क्वायर फीट है? अरे बेचना नहीं है यार, तो किधर गिनूंगा? डायमेंशन भी नहीं डाला है, प्रोपोर्शन से पूरा बनाया है. So the dimension has no meaning. How big or small it is, it has no meaning. That's how the when you say there is budget constraint, there is no budget. See, again I separated. There is a budget. It's not working, but there is no budget constraint. वो बढ़ सकता है आगे.
So the second part. So then, if you want to design a house for yourself, your dream house, what would be more or less than this?
Yeah, basically I am a very dissatisfied person. So if you ask me that if I was to make a house, what would I change? मेरा first question है, मेरे को इधर घर बनाना ही नहीं है. मैं आज 15 बरस हो गए रेंट पे रह रहा हूँ. I am really shit scared of if I make a house, I'll strike roots. I can't be mobile anymore. So I'm really scared.
You mean a drifter's gypsy also?
Not a gypsy. The thing is, there's again another question. People say, ऐसा घर बना, ऐसा बेडरूम बना, ऐसा बना. मेरा सवाल ये है, देखो, first of all, I don't owe anybody, not even the bank. People owe me, but I don't owe anybody because I'm Muslim. One of the things in religion is that बेटा आज तो रात को मर जाएगा तो कल हिसाब क्या देगा ऊपर. तो मैं मेरा सब कर्जे दे देता हूँ. तो भाई जल्दी मरूंगा उसके पहले लेके जाके कल सुबह में if I die, I have to answer somewhere. So with that kind of attitude, I don't know anybody. I don't have any tension. रात को I hit the bed, in 20 seconds I'm out. In 30 seconds I'm snoring, my wife is in the other room. Okay. So if I'm out, I actually sometimes I go into my bed and I start thinking आज Buckingham Palace में सोता हूँ, Queen के बाजू में. क्या फर्क पड़ता है? आँख बंद करा तो किधर भी रह सकता हूँ मैं. मेरे को थोड़ी मेरे घर में ही रहना है. आँख बंद तो यार आज. So the house is a different concept for me in my head. So one of these days I'll figure out where I want to. जब भी आर्किटेक्चर का कीड़ा कब होएगा तो घर का कीड़ा जागेगा. And that's when I'll decide where I want to be, and that could be anywhere in the world. Then I decided on a basic flooring. It could have been Lhasa, it could have been Satvario, it could have been white Thasos, it could have been Chianti. But I am again. So see, you have to understand one other thing. My brain keeps moving from architecture to business to contracting to shop drawings to X to Y, आगे पीछे. Satvario लेता मैं, तो these traders would have killed me. Right? And I'm dependent on these guys because they control the market. So one of the things that I've done for myself is set up this workshop, and Sumit heads that, and he does a lot of things, and I do my share also in that. So we've reached that stage. That's why they become very affordable for me. Over the years working in this way, we've kind of developed the knack what to use, how much to use, and how much not to use, and which company to use and which company not to use. So from that point of view, I bought these large format tiles directly from the factory, पुराने दोस्त है 8-10 बरस पुराने हैं, so I get the best value. You see, outside I've used matte, inside we've used glossy. On the walls I've used glossy, on the floors I've used matte, because on the matte you can clean it. On the glossy, you want the dust to slide off. So we used the matte and the glossy. The floor is the same level, right? So that level different step down नहीं किया है. And Tisha had this nice thing that पानी अगर आया तो it's a gutter. And then at every 1500 there is a underneath there's a section which drains out, and then it joins with this strip drain. This strip drain is by Eco. And then these join into this. ये तो इधर ऊपर slit है, नीचे अच्छा खासा drain है. And then it goes into the recharging borewell over here. So this is the little bit ₹2 worth of engineering.
Yeah, tough location, 20 mm thick marble, CNC watershed cut, blended inside, leveled, and then we put in what we call an invisible door. Right? So there are two invisible doors. One is that, and one is this one over here. If the handle was not there, you kind of the reveal is very very minimal. So this is 20 mm.
And we have to slice the marble to 3 mm and still have the pattern going. So this was a killer, but good. So yeah, that's the structural. That's the pain in the ass, and there's one more structural column, eccentric column here. Planning is pretty simple. Since it is transparence, everything is. But the compound wall I raised it right in front, so it was in a blocks and it gave me a little forecourt over here. When you enter, this wall becomes a nice feature over here, but it's actually a shield. The honeymoon couple. Go ahead, take it. This unit also traditionally, so we kind of challenge it at every point, you know. Why does the house have to look like a house? Why does the swimming pool have to be blue? In the future, I don't think houses will be traditionally how houses are today. They won't be recognized. You know, it'll be like there'll be objects in a landscape. So same way, even the unit, the side cadenza normally is this side. So we got this from. This is again Rima Decio, again a very good company that I work with, Rima Decio directly. So it's transparent, so it allows you to see through, but it is also a screen. And आपको जितना privacy चाहिए उतना अंदर भरो. जितना we want less privacy, put it somewhere else. So this became another. It's also backlit. I don't know why backlit किया कि नहीं. When the other lights go down. One of the other things which, I mean, as an education to architects, I find a lot of architects don't understand the difference between a diffuser and AC grill. Fundamentally, a diffuser is always used on the soffit and an AC grill is always used on the side. So this is a company called Titus. Titus now has a collaboration in India also, but Titus is originally a US company and very specific diffusers. So each of these Titus sections has an individual plenum. But here it's all, every section has one plenum, which is then again calibrated so that you get. So there are some few laws which, mental issues that I have with myself, is that AC should be felt, not seen. Light should be felt but not seen. Although here I'm breaking the laws in over here. So all my AC guys are terrified because मैं फिर वो थर्मामीटर लेके जाके 23.8 हर एक कोने में चेक करता हूँ. फिर नहीं मिला तो फिर गाली गलौज starts. But ये with the plenum you get in a visual. Also वो आते सर्विस कर दे फिर सीलिंग काला काला करते. All the FCUs are there, and that's why that's a laminate ceiling because laminate is silica based, it's fire retardant. तो तू उधर मस्ती कर, इधर आके कुछ करने का नहीं. So the air conditioning ducts are long, they are calibrated. So at various small levels, there is some kind of engineering which is involved. I don't ऐसा ही छोड़ता नहीं हूँ किसको भी. And I make a lot of mistakes also, but then we know, okay, we screwed up, Aijaz, you screwed up here. Next wala mein abhi improve. So there's a lot of screw ups also which I go through. I should have used the LEDs which we did over
Let's
here.
follow him inside. Yeah, come.
The LEDs that we used over here, I should have used lesser. The dummy. Yeah, little me, you're being polite. It's a screw up. I know. So next time we'll have to be a little smarter. It can be reduced, yes, I know, but then I'll have to put a dimmable ballast on a profile. इसमें इजी है. इसमें मैग्नेटिक एक निकाल के घर पे लेके गया, लाइट कब हो गया. On a profile which is now integrated inside, वो Caraflex Maxi S1 से पूरा fix हो गया है.
So this is for the lady of the house, but sir, we would like also to see the.
Yeah. So this is Mrs. Katkar, the owner of the house. She likes to bake and she likes to cook. Over the years, I realized कि ये जो अपने मेड्स आते हैं, महाराज आता है, महाराज राजस्थान से है, उसको क्या पता है इटली क्या है, उसको क्या इंग्लिश क्या पता है, उसको कोई आइडिया नहीं है. उसको सॉफ्ट क्लोज समझता है क्या, उसको मेटा बॉक्स ड्रॉर समझता है क्या. ओपन द ड्रॉर, क्लाइम ऑन द ड्रॉर एंड देन ओपन द ओवरहेड शटर. उधर से लेसन सीखा कि ये अनपढ़ों के हाथ में इटालियन किचन दिया तो कोई मतलब नहीं है, वो तो उसकी बैंड बजाना ही वाला है, right? So whenever we have the luxury, we do. Now the builders have turned it into a marketing gimmick, dry kitchen and wet kitchen. But मेरे लिए ये owner kitchen and maid kitchen.
So
महाराज kitchen. अभी महाराज आया तो बजाएगा बैंड बाजा. जोड़ तो कुछ नहीं होने वाला. Hose it down.
And a commercial kitchen.
Yeah, it's a restaurant kitchen. So I imported this from Kitchenama from Sharjah. And we had a beautiful like worktop with the cook range. Factory में भेज दिए because this factory Ilas, I'm not going to have a party every day. Just give me a sun flame. तो अभी नया काउंटर आ रहा है उसके ऊपर एक sun flame रखेंगे. But it's a brilliant hood, you know, double screen. You can have water hookup over here. There's fresh air coming in. The exhaust, everything is vented out with inline pumps to the external. You have the stainless steel baffles. You just remove them and clean up. Oil cleanup is completely zero. Yeah, and also easy enough. Paint. How much paint you do? You know, even water. Washable paint. You start cleaning this car, just let me know. कभी washable paint wash होता ही नहीं है. So all the back of the house are completely tiled in. 20 kilo, 10 kilo, 15 kilo, 5 kilo. The grain store, which if you don't lock it, then you'll be paranoid. So this is lockable. Then we have another set of storage for the grains, etc. Over there.
मीट का सिलेंडर, दूसरी मीट का सिलेंडर, तेरे को तेरा राशन दे दिया, अभी तो तेरा चला, yeah. And then above the staircase cap, we've enclosed it, and we put our filtration, our pneumatic system, our Fronius for the solar, all of that, and OHD over there. मतलब कभी सोचा नहीं था कि 26 ये होएंगे.
And it was full. Then the lady, for the
इलेक्ट्रिकल दिया हुआ है, अर्थिंग 26 अर्थिंग. Lighting arrestor took 6. The fly mesh, so under all the doors are armed, so this area is armed. Again, as much as possible, aluminum doors. No termite, no paint, no expansion, no contraction. Yeah, there's the GKD. Now we illuminated it. When you go out, you'll see the entire lighting actually. Both the floors have automation DBs, and I don't leave the automation there, so you have to see how we have dressed it. There is a certain way POP ka bottom hits the POP when the POP is level. If the POP is level, the air escapes, and it suddenly at the last millisecond there's a vacuum form, and the POP ka bottom go. Oh, that little vacuum is there. POP out रहता है, vacuum होएगा ही नहीं. ये bottom ला चल 8 फुट का bottom ला 3 फुट का नहीं. I take the 8 foot bottom, किधर भी लगा सकता हूँ. And they all shit scared कि ये साला bottom मंगाया है यार, ये मारा और मरा तो हाथों निकला. So all of these things are in place, which kind of the finishes and things it helps. रुपया तो उतना ही लगता है. It's just how much care you take on a project which defines you. And this definition I learned from Edwankar, although I never went to any of his sites. I met him after about 15 years of knowing who Edwankar is. But from far I always knew that's the target to reach. And after you reach it, then you got to beat that target. I don't know here if there's anything special. I like this one.
my younger days are over, but I always sit and imagine the building reefer marega class. It's nice. It's got a very good feel to it. Even ducks के ऊपर जो cladding किया है, see. So Allen key से किया है. But once you open the Allen key for servicing, by default there's a socket inside and there's a bulkhead. So this becomes just like a cleaning passage. Because that's Aji's. I have a rate contract with Silicon. So we will press it on our 120 ton press, but on our 8 mm MDF or on 8 mm calibrated ply. That's how you can get this. So normally a market में that dirty ply with that veneer pressing also finish नहीं आता है. So this is, we buy veneer as a fleach and then we press it ourselves. The three modes of Saturn. The puja room is in the northeast side. I had two options. Have a door there, have a door here. If I put a door here, the आदमी इधर से निकल के अंदर घुसता और भगवान तेल लेने गए. भगवान है only मकड़ी का जाला. So I put the door over there and the staircase also be inverted. So you come over there. When you're returning home from work, the first thing you see is your so-called precious Bhagwan. And then you go into the house. When you come out of your bedroom, first thing you see Bhagwan. And then you don't care so much about your parents and it's fine, you just walk down. But otherwise you're forced to come, meet your parents and then go via the lift. And normally the downline would have been this way, right?
Yeah.
From here. So I forced them to walk this way, and also since it's like this, my sunlight comes from here, not like, so it comes through and then it bounces and then I get a lot of light below, and the staircase is also open. So a little bit of that light study helped us in achieving that. That's pure fantasy, that's like Midsummer Night's Dream. Because this is the daughter's home. The whole floor belongs to the daughter. Unfortunately, before we could hand over the house, she got married. So it's just sad that she can't sit and enjoy it. But I thought this would be a good hangout. And especially with the GKD coming, it becomes a protective, like a cocoon. Sumit went one step ahead. And he put a whole misting device over there, so you can mist it out also. And every pot has a drip irrigation. You don't have to sit and water the plant. So, this turned out pretty well. I don't think I'll try this ever again. But for this house, it serves the. Joseph does all the automation. Joseph is responsible for all that DB dressing and all that. Joseph. So the whole house is automated on a KNX backbone. These are Murjan switches, which are German. They are very top of the line switches. We use very sparingly the Murjan switches. इतना आसानी से मिलता नहीं, but we have ways and means of things. This is 14 by 10 and a half. That sucker is 16 by 10 and a half. We had to get two cranes to balance the whole thing and to get the glass. नहीं तो 16 by दो था एक था कितना crane था? एक ही था. You were here when the glass was put? Sorry, my mistake. That was put with a crane and the glass moved, right? So that's also a risk. But it's not going to come from here.
There are also 13 men handling.
13 people handling it.
30 people handling the glass.
13 or 30?
30.
Wow. You should have videoed it. Should put it on Insta. 30 guys spot the gate. Yeah, but here are some issues. Again, I'm struggling whether I should put art over there or just leave the Satwario grains flowing. This is again a dilemma.
Get it on the
Oh.
We fall out.